What's going on, everyone? Welcome into MTV The Challenge Rivals 3 Recap Show, brought to you by the Ledge Sports. I'm Zach Hummel, and I'm joined by Steve Ballou. What's going on, Steve?
Not too much. How you doing?
Doing good. Trying to stay out of the heat. I know in New England it's a heat wave, Got to stay in the air conditions.
Yeah, definitely. It's been brutal.
Yeah, so last time we left off in the challenge, we thought we had our final four teams that were going to compete in the final challenge, but this episode kind of threw a wrench into that. We had one final elimination challenge, and I wasn't too happy with that. I want all the teams, the most teams that we can have in the final, I want them in the final, so it makes it more interesting and the drama sort of builds, and there's small rivalries within everything. Having another elimination challenge before the final.
I agree with you. I didn't like it. I thought that, the four teams that traveled to Argentina were going to have a shot at the championship. And, just like you said, it just adds that level of competition. So I didn't like them throwing in that extra challenge to get it down to only three teams for the final.
Yeah, we'll talk about who goes home and how they went home later. But the episode starts with kind of where it left off with Cheyenne. I don't know how she got a cell phone, but she somehow called her mom from Argentina to tell her about, how she was getting bullied by Vince and Johnny. I just thought it fed into like the producer's storyline that they wanted to create some drama before the final challenge, sort of pegged Devin and Cheyenne versus the rest of the teams. And I think they did a good job because Devin, I don't know if he was a little tipsy or he's just a fiery kind of guy standing up for Cheyenne, but he got in the face of, Bananas and Vince popped up from his bed looking like he was about to fight Devin, but there was a security guard already there. I thought we were going to have a fight on our hands.
Yeah, I love Devin. I think it was last week that I mentioned that as every episode goes by, I like him more and more. And I just love his fiery attitude that he's not afraid to say what's on his mind. I love how he went at Vince and Bananas and Jenna, calling them all sheep. I thought that was all great. Vince had to act like a tough guy and pretend to come at him when in reality there was a security guard there. Vince always seems like he's just a high school kid, he got Devin in sort of a made you flinch type of move, and it just seemed sort of childish what he was doing to him. But I just absolutely love that Devin, got in all their faces and, told them what was up.
Yeah, Vince strikes me as the kind of guy that's the bully in any like 80s, teenage movie. He reminds me of kind of O'Doyle Rules and Billy Madison, just how he, he'll pour pudding on you and you'll think you won't do anything back. I think he's just jealous of everyone's brains. He seems like a really dumb guy. And usually jocks aren't that smart. They're jealous of guys like Devin. I'm not saying Devin's the smartest guy, but when you're comparing him to a guy like Vince, he's Albert Einstein. And also Jenna, she was getting called sheep by Devin. She said she didn't even know what that meant. I mean, that sort of sums up her intelligence level. Obviously, Devin was saying she kind of goes along with the crowd. She doesn't have any, independent thought. And Jenna kind of reached her breaking point this season. She's definitely been quiet. I think we've mentioned on previous podcasts this whole season. And she ended up, she had enough of Devin's talking and she threw some water on him. It didn't really mean anything. Devin just kind of laughed it off. But I think Devin was trying to get everyone riled up the day before, they thought they were going to be in the elimination challenge. And then you had, Daria and Nicole just sitting there not involved in the fight at all, which was kind of awkward and kind of almost foreshadowed that they were going to be eliminated, which they were in the elimination challenge.
Yeah, that whole sequence was interesting. And I think you're right. I think they were a little bit tipsy. It was just classic Jenna that she didn't know what Devin was talking about when he called her sheep. She thought she meant that she was cute and cuddly or something like that. She couldn't comprehend what he was getting at. But, it was just, I think just a little bit of alcohol led to that whole thing. And it was just really the Devin show. It was fun to watch him. But, yeah, Dario and Nicole just not involved at all. But I really enjoyed that. That was good seeing Devin not afraid to go off on all those people.
Yeah, Jenna strikes me as one of these girls that like you can't even argue with because she's so stupid, and I'm sort of coming to the conclusion that Zach might be in the right. Like he can't even argue with her. You can't even explain stuff to her because she's so stupid. I That would be really frustrating for me to have as a girlfriend, a girl that you cannot even talk to because she's so dumb. So maybe that's where the decision lies with those two. Um, the next day, you never really see us in a challenge, but there was a peace dinner. Um, Everyone apologizes for the night before. Um, kind of saw that coming. I think it was sort of contrived, like we sort of said the whole season was with some of the drama. Devin apologizes. Vince apologizes for bullying. Devin apologizes for taking it too far. I thought that was sort of a weird dinner with all the teams going out. It seemed like they were just there to apologize, not even to really eat.
Seemed a little bit uncomfortable, and yeah, it definitely seems like they had a little bit too much to drink the next night, and they all sort of regretted what happened. So it was just kind of, I guess, awkward was the best way to describe it. And the only thing they all could do was apologize because they, for the most part, they all did something that they shouldn't have done, and it was definitely weird to see it because the challenge usually doesn't show us that type of stuff. So it was kind of interesting to see, but at the same time, awkward to watch.
Yeah, my whole thought on that fight was, they were in this big luxurious house in Mexico where they had, if they got into it with anyone, they could sort of, go off and go for a run or work out. But they were all in this. It wasn't a small hotel room; it was a suite. But there was 4 teams of 2 people in there. There's 8 people in there. So, once you get in sort of confined spaces, the fights will happen. But then the next day we go into a challenge. They walk into a vineyard, which I thought it was a beautiful vineyard, by the way. And I thought this was going to be the start of the final. They were going to have to do something in the vineyard, maybe run up to the mountains or something. I don't know, some crazy shit they do in the final. But it was the last elimination challenge before the final. Uh, and they obviously stayed with the theme of the season and did the white and black skulls. And Devin and Cheyenne once again skate by, pulling the white skulls. I swear to God, they're the luckiest team ever in challenge history. And Dario and Nicole end up pulling a black one, and Sarah and Bananas pull one, which I thought in my mind when I was watching, I was like, oh, this is karma because they haven't really gone in the jungle the whole season. So this was their last and final test before they probably win the final challenge.
Yeah, it was just unbelievable to see again Devin and Cheyenne not pull a black cord. I was rooting the whole time. I was hoping that it was going to be Sarah and Bananas versus Vince and Jenna. That's what I was pulling for. That would have been nice to at least see one of those teams go home. Unfortunately, it didn't work that way, and it was Dario who ended up picking the black skull. But it was really, I think, just a nice little warm up for Sarah and Bananas to get in before the final challenge because going those 2 teams going head to head, there was zero shot really that Sarah and Bananas were going to end up losing that challenge to Dario and Nicole.
Yeah, it was a pretty interesting challenge. They had these riddles that any fucking 5th grader could figure out. They were acting like Sarah was acting like she was a genius because she was figuring them out. I mean, fucking Dario was. But both teams had trouble carrying the wine barrels because it looked like they were on almost like a short, confined, like barbed wire space. So they had to kind of carry it in a way where they could shimmy by. And obviously, in the end, Sarah and Bananas came out on top. They just sort of outlasted Nicole and Dario, who struggled with the barrels a little more than Sarah and Bananas did. But so we had our final 3 teams: Devin and Cheyenne, Vince and Jenna, and Bananas and Sarah. So it all set up for all the drama. Those were the 3 teams we were left by. And they go out on the town. They have little guys, almost seemed like a guy's dinner, and then they had a girl's side of the dinner, which each partner kind of spewed the dirty laundry on their partner. Jenna said Vince has no stamina. Cheyenne said we have no strength. Sarah and Bananas don't really have a weakness, so they really didn't say anything. It was a pretty weird dinner that people were just talking shit about their partners before the final challenge.
Yeah, that was funny to see, and it must have been really awkward. I think the most awkward for Devin because he's just sitting there with Bananas and Vince, and he's got to be civil with them, but in the back of his mind, he must be thinking, God, I hate these two guys, and I just hope that I can beat them in the finals. It was funny though when they were all sort of airing their grievances about their partner. I think Vince mentioned that they're going to be doomed if Jenna has to eat anything because he said the only thing she'll eat is chicken nuggets. So if there's any type of eating challenge, Vince is going to have to carry them there because Jenna doesn't do that. But yeah, they had sort of two awkward dinners in one episode last night.
Yeah, it seems like a new thing they're trying out this season because we've never really seen that in seasons before this. Pretty interesting idea. It kind of lets the people talk about, air their grievances to other people on the show. So we had the final. We had the long walk-up sequence with TJ in the foreground, all the teams walking up to them, and instantly I knew they were going to have to traverse some crazy mountain because that's kind of what they had to do the last couple final challenges. So TJ announces they're going to be climbing to a 14,000-foot mountain, which in the distance it literally looks like Mount Everest. So picturing Bananas, Jenna, Vince, Devin, even if they finish up on that mountain is crazy. I think Cheyenne was a little scared. She looked scared when TJ told them what they had to do in the final challenge. But he laid the ground rules down. There was going to be checkpoints. Overall time wins the final challenge. So no matter if your partner finished first in one challenge or the other partner kind of lagged behind, it was just overall time. What were your first impressions on that aggro crag kind of final mountain challenge?
Yeah, it looked ridiculous. I'm thinking the same thing. Cheyenne is sort of, at this point, looking like she's mentally defeated already before it even really kicked off because she said something along the lines of how she was, ecstatic that they made the final three, but now she's like, I really don't want to be doing this. So, I'm interested to see how she's going to deal with this next leg of the finals. But, yeah, it's really going to be interesting to see this new twist and big major twist that we'll talk about that came up, which I thought was great.
Yeah, TJ dropped the bomb last kind of see you later before the final challenge started. TJ dropped the bomb that whatever team finished first, they're one of the player, whoever had the better time of the two, could decide how they split the money. No, I wasn't sure if this was only the first team or the second place team split the money and the third place team split the money. Did you get a clarification on that? I thought it was only the first place team.
I'm not really sure. I was thinking that it was actually all the teams, but I guess you're right. It could just be the first place team gets to decide how the money split. But I also wanted to mention TJ did say that you have to finish in order to win the money. So it's not just going to be like a team can finish in third place by default. If they don't get up to the top of that mountain, there's going to be no money to win.
Yeah, something tells me if Devin and Cheyenne win, they'll split it 50-50 just because they seem like the closest two of the bunch. The challenge starts. Bananas and Sarah finish first, and Sarah's already having reservations. She's asking Bananas throughout the whole first challenge checkpoint, if he's going to split the money with her. So she seems sort of anxious from the beginning, and Bananas kind of spits it off. He goes, Sarah, we shouldn't be worrying about splitting the money right now. We have to go win it in the first place. It definitely was a good twist because it strikes me that if Vince and Jenna win, I think either one of them won't split the money with each other. Like, you could just take 100% of the money, which would be such a dick move. Sarah already dicked Bananas over once, so maybe she thinks Bananas will dick her over if he ends up having the better time out of the two of them, which I would guess the guys would have the better time, but maybe they have some checkpoints set up where it sort of evens the playing field, where the girls might have an advantage as well.
It would just be such a diabolical move to take all the money from your partner. And I really love that they threw this in there as a twist because we're sort of been thinking now, for a couple episodes that it's just going to be Sarah and Bananas take this thing down. But now that they threw this wrinkle into the challenge, it's going to make it more entertaining to see, if they do win, are they going to split the money? Is Bananas going to keep it all? Will Sarah keep it all? But Sarah, she seems really worried about what Bananas is going to do. And like you said, she keeps on sort of probing him to see if he'll tip his hand at all. And he won't do it. He said, it would be foolish for him to reveal what he was thinking. But I just love that they threw in a big major twist, like the challenge is known to do it. This changes everything moment, and this is a big one, the biggest one the challenge has ever had.
Yeah, the first thing I thought of was it sort of makes this final challenge a free for all. I mean, obviously, the team that finishes with the best time wins, but you want to have the best time of your team. So everyone is pretty much on their own in my mind because I want to do the best, and that will in turn make my team do the best. And I thought it was going to be free for all, no one helping, but in the first checkpoint, Sarah finishes first and she helps Bananas, and then Vince helps Jenna and all that stuff. So it seems like they're working together a little more than I would. I see it as a free for all. Obviously, you want your team to win, you want to finish, but you also want to have the best time you can have. Don't worry about your partner until you finish that checkpoint, which I think Sarah did, and that's why she was sort of worried because she took an early lead on Bananas. The first checkpoint, it wasn't anything really interesting. They sort of had to unwind some wires, which created like an explosion. They had to pick up their gemstones, so they're going to be collecting these gemstones along the way. How do you think this sets up the dynamic for the checkpoints going forward? Do you think the teammates will be pretty, coy with each other, or do you think they'll, agree to split the money evenly?
I think that they're going to remain coy with each other and not sort of reveal which way they're going to go either way. I was surprised that Sarah got out on a quick lead over Bananas, and I'm just thinking that they usually throw some good puzzles in the final challenge, and Sarah's good at puzzles, Bananas not. So I think that she's going to, I can see her, adding to her lead later on here in the finals. And I don't think that, as far as their team's concerned, I don't think they're going to reveal it until the very end. I do see, like you mentioned before, a team like Devin and Cheyenne could just say right away, like, hey, no matter what, we're going to split this money, so let's work together. But as far as, the leading team goes, Bananas and Sarah, I don't think they're going to reveal that until the very end.
Yeah, that will be interesting, especially if they sort of start blowing out the other teams. That will be the growing storyline, how they're going to split the money at the end. Like you said, I think it will be a free-for-all because this first challenge, yes, it was team-oriented, but you had to finish your part before the other person could finish theirs. So it seems like if Sarah finishes a puzzle way before Bananas, I wonder if Sarah will help him. Obviously, she probably will because it will help their team time, but she wants to beat him, by a certain amount, so she holds the lead over him so she can decide whether to split the money or not. I just think it sets up for a diabolical finish, especially if Sarah and Bananas win. I think it's Vince and Jenna, they won't split the money. They'll go 100, to each other. Devin and Cheyenne, like you said, will go 50-50. And then Sarah and Bananas, they're the favorite. I think, Bananas starting out, it's up in the air what they decide, and that will be definitely the biggest storyline going into this next episode, which I think will be the final one, unless they do a two-part finale, which they may do because they sort of talked it up like it's going to be a long, trek to traverse that mountain.
Yeah, I think Sarah definitely, I feel like she wants to come to an agreement with Bananas to say we're going to split the money. I think Bananas, ultimately, in my heart of hearts, I think that when it comes down to it, he's going to split the money with her because they work so well as a team and she helped him just as much as he helped her. But I think it's almost like, maybe a little bit of payback for him because of the way that he feels like she fucked him over, that he's not going to – he basically just wants to keep her on edge throughout this whole challenge. But, yeah, she's definitely going to do everything in her power to make sure that she beats Bananas, so she's the one who decides. But I do feel like in the end she's going to decide to split the money with him if she comes up with a better time.
Yeah, I would watch out for that because I feel like Bananas is probably the richest person on the challenge or ever to be on the challenge. I feel like he does pretty well for himself, not only from these challenges but from stuff outside the show. Sarah mentioned before the final that she's going to grad school, which seems weird for a person her age, and she's going to start popping out some babies, and she kind of wants to start her life. So if she starts getting a lead over Bananas, that's going to enter her mind, and she'll be like, 250,000 could do a lot for me to start my life off, pay for grad school, pay for a down payment on a house, help support the kids that she's assuming she's going to have. So, I would watch out for her. If she screws over Bananas twice, I mean, there could be some fireworks at the reunion show, which is usually fun to watch, but will be especially great if those two go at it.
That would be an all-time move for her to ride off into the sunset of the challenge by taking it down, taking all the money, and then retiring from the challenge. Yeah, I didn't really think about that until you mentioned that she did say that she's looking to go to grad school and then start a family. So, in hindsight, this does seem like it could be her final challenge, and that would just be an unbelievable way for her to leave things by taking all the money and running and just screwing over Bananas. That would be a fantastic way for the season to end.
Yeah, Sarah sort of strikes me as one of these girls that comes off nice, but she'll stab you in the back if it comes down to it. I don't know why. I just think she's a little rugged. She's got tats, and she kind of has an attitude sometimes. So that'll be something to keep your eye on. This final challenge looks like a trek. It looks like they're going to be going through a lot. So whoever wins this definitely will earn that $250,000. Whether they split it or not, we'll see how that develops through this final episode of the season.
Yeah, definitely. And next time as they're sort of getting more physical, it looks like there's going to be some people that are throwing up due to the physical nature of the challenge. And I'm just picturing Vince. I just see him like totally collapsing and throwing up, and I don't see this going well for him.
Do you think all the teams will end up finishing?
I'm worried about Devin and Cheyenne. I'm just not sure about them. I do think in the end, no matter how long it takes them, I think eventually Vince and Jenna will end up finishing. But as far as Devin and Cheyenne go, I'm sort of 50-50 on them right now. I could see, I just can picture Cheyenne not being able to finish. Devin's going to really have to keep her motivated throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, that'll be key. Motivation for her. Because she seems like she's one of these people that won't, grit through something like Jenna and Sarah would. If one thing doesn't go her way, she seems like she kind of pouts and, she's kind of over it. I worry about Vince in a stamina challenge. Like if they get to this high altitude and he's already gassed, I think we could have a big E moment where we really, we might have to life star him off that mountain because to me, he seems a little doughy. And if any of the guys have bad stamina, I think it's Vince. I could see him passing out, and I could just see Jenna being like, Vince, like, let's go. And he's like, oh, I can't breathe. So, I would keep an eye on Vince, and definitely Cheyenne and Vince would be the two people I would guess if I had to put money down that won't finish. Yeah, so, I think it's Sarah and Bananas' final to lose. We kind of talked about that last episode, but how do you see them finishing now that you've kind of seen the layout of the final and whatnot?
What do you mean by that? How do I see the three teams finishing? In what order?
You see them finishing the order, yeah.
I think one will be Sarah and Bananas, and I'm hoping that I'm rooting for Devin and Cheyenne to come in second place. If Cheyenne has what it takes to finish, I think that they could pull ahead of Vince and Jenna just because, like you mentioned, Vince, this could be disastrous for him. And he hasn't been tested at all this season. Like, I don't know what he's done, but nothing really physical at all. And, that he could get crushed by this altitude. So I'm hoping that it goes Devin and Cheyenne second and then Vince and Jenna third. I think that will happen as long as Cheyenne can just stay motivated.
Yeah, I see it finishing this. I see him finishing a different way. I see Sarah and Bananas going first, obviously. I see Vince and Jen actually finishing second because, when Devin came on the podcast, he said he wanted redemption next time he's on the challenge. So that makes me think maybe they didn't end up finishing. Usually you only want redemption, if you performed really badly. And I fear for that just because Cheyenne is one of probably the weakest people to ever be in a final. So I'm not sure she's ready for the kind of mental toughness you're going to need to, outlast the nights in the cold weather and then, climbing the mountain. But, yeah, it's all set up for a great final. We have our favorites, and the other two teams will kind of see how they pan each other out. And that twist TJ threw in, definitely diabolical. Definitely, even if the final, the way they finish isn't that interesting, the way they split the money will definitely be something to keep your eye on.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, unless you got anything else, I think we're good, Steve.
Nope, that's all I got.
All right, take it easy, guys.
See ya.